Hello YouTube, I'm Dom the musician. My name's Dom, I'm a musician. Here is my degree. In this series of videos I'm looking at Murray Gold's music for Doctor Who Series 1 and exploring what makes it so fantastic. I'm going to be going through in roughly chronological order and talking about some of my favourite themes. I'll also be using some musical jargon, but I'll be providing a glossary of terms which you can find in the description. So even if you don't know anything about musical theory, you hopefully won't get lost. Let's go!
Spaceships and things, I'm the only person on planet Earth who knows they exist.
Today we're going to be talking about thematic development in relation to the Slitheen theme. The Slitheen, if you will. The first time you hear it is on the recap, where once again there's melody and accompaniment texture. You've got this bass ostinato playing B flat, B flat, D flat, C, while the strings and horns play B flat, D flat, F, outlining a B flat minor chord. And that's all played over a house beat, which means still in keeping with that mid-2000s dance music that you heard in Westminster Bridge. The next time you hear it is when the spaceship crashes. Even though it's now in G minor, the bass line is the same, though the rhythm's a little bit more playful. We've lost the house beat, and now the arrangement's a little bit more like your standard orchestral score. Harmonically, it's quite serious, but it's also very bouncy. Quite fun, actually, considering the scene evokes 9/11. Meanwhile, the melody's the same as in the house version. You just take this, transpose it to G minor, take that top note down the octave, add a passing note, and you got this. So when you put the whole thing together, it sounds a little bit like this. You hear both versions of the theme again at the start of the second episode, but it's not until this point that Murray develops it further.
Group Captain, delighted you could make it. We're meeting upstairs. That's the spirit. Off you go. Good to see.
We're now in C minor and the tempo's gone right down. There's no percussion, just these long string lines in octave unison, and they're playing a slightly modified version of the bass line. Whereas before it would have been C, C, E flat, D. It's now C, C, E flat, D flat, D. So there's an extra note in there. And I think that nicely conveys the stealthier side of the Slitheen. When they were hunting, it was very to the point. And now their strategy has changed. They're hiding in sight, so the melody's almost the same, but now it's disguised with the insertion of that D flat. It's like they're saying, no, we can't be the aliens. Listen to our theme. It's got a D flat in it. It's totally different. Then when the policeman shows up to kill Jackie and Mickey, you get the house version of the theme again. Only this time it's been simplified to just C, 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 D flat, C. It's like, there's no time for the full theme. We'll just have to riff on that semitone like it's a metal song. Now, where it gets really interesting is this inverted version of the theme here.
Right, we need to select a missile.
We can't go nuclear, we don't have the defense codes.
We don't need it, all we need is an ordinary missile.
The cellos play F, G, A. Still the first three notes of a minor scale, but this time it's going up, not down.
Up, not down.
So it's like they're fighting back. It's still in a minor key because, you know, it's a serious situation, but this time it feels like they're pushing back against the Slitheen. But then, of course, once the missile gets launched, it goes back down again because this time the Doctor and Rose are in danger. I think at this point the theme no longer represents the Slitheen, but the situation as a whole, which is why you get one final rendition as the missile hits Downing Street. I never noticed this before, but the story is bookended by objects crashing into London landmarks. So I guess it's fitting that you get the same music in both scenes. And with that, we bid a final, very dignified farewell to the Slitheen. So Murray speaks in the album liner notes about the quintessential Britishness of Harriet Jones's theme. And I didn't quite understand what he meant by that. I had to listen to it, and I don't know, I wasn't getting a huge sense of patriotism. It was quite grim. I watched some other, supposedly iconic speeches from other British leaders. I watched Darkest Hour, I watched the King's Speech, and listened to the music in those. And still, I wasn't really getting that Britishness. I still didn't understand what Murray meant. So then I watched the war speech from Independence Day, an American film. And all these sort of martial snare drums and hopeful little piccolo lines. And that was when I got it, because I was like, the American music is very optimistic. Then I listened back to the British ones, and it was just dour, minor chords. It was like the musical equivalent of just rain beating you in the face. I got it, and suddenly just the national pride just swelled up. I remember thinking that is the sound of a stiff upper lip. So at first, it's less Harriet's theme and more something that represents the office of Prime Minister. The first time you hear it is during Joseph Green's address to the nation.
The greatest experts in extraterrestrial events came here tonight. They gathered in the common cause. But the news I bring you now is grave indeed.
He's acting PM, so at this point the theme belongs to him. And in this scene, the music is doing two things. One, it's conveying the gravitas and sense of leadership that he's trying to project. In that sense, it's a subjective use of music. It's showing you things from his perspective. But also, two, it's showing you the real seriousness of the situation, which is how it works in the objective sense. Like I said, it's very dour. It keeps jumping from one minor key to another, E minor, G minor, A minor, back to G minor, and then finally F minor. It's heroic in a way, but a more grim type of heroism. More of a sober, pessimistic type of heroism. A British heroism, if you will. The second time you hear the theme is when the Doctor reveals that he's thought of a solution, but that it will put Rose in danger.
I could save the world but lose you.
I like how this key change is perfectly synced up with Rose saying, do it.
That's the thing, if I don't dare, everyone dies.
Do it.
You don't even know what it is, you just let me.
Yeah.
Briefly, the power's in her hands. She's calling the shots. Then, of course, Harriet speaks up, just in time for some rousing timpani rolls, so at that point, the ball's in her court.
Except it's not your decision, Doctor. It's mine.
She's the boss, the democratically elected boss. The last time you hear it, our heroes are emerging from the rubble after the missile strike.
Are you all right?
Harriet Jones.
They saved the day, everything's great, and yet we're treated to this dirge. It's really strange because, out of context, it just sounds so mournful, but I don't know, I somehow still find it really uplifting.
Mankind stands tall, proud and undefeated.
I don't know, I guess the Doctor, Rose and Harriet, they're standing on this pile of rubble surrounded by flaming debris and presumably one or two Slitheen corpses. But they're smiling, they're optimistic.
God bless the human race.
My dormant national pride just can't help but spume forth. So dumb. Okay. Finally, I just want to point out the top 3 dumbest musical moments that we've had so far. In third place is this stupid dun-dun when the Doctor shows up at the restaurant in Rose.
Look, we didn't order it.
Second place is the Doctor's clarinet eyeballs. Sort of speed reading he's speed reading and it sounds like a clarinet. And the absolute champion is this point where Mickey and Jackie are sneaking around and it just sounds like they've run across one of those piano mat things. I really miss the stupid music. That about wraps everything up for today. Join me next time when I'll be talking about the music of Dalek. I still don't have a sign-off.